It's good to have one of these Texas fly swatters when I'm down here in Texas speaking, isn't it? You all do things big down here, don't you? Well, folks, this is a little segment on using props, and there's all different types of props that you can use. They're great for riveting people's attention on a particular point you're trying to make. They're lots of fun. They can be used to replace your notes also, which is a cool way to use props. Let me just show you a little cross-section of the types of props that you can use. This is obviously an oversized prop called a Texas fly swatter. So it's a lot of fun, and you could be getting rid of your Texas-sized problems if you're speaking in Texas. If you go to the opposite end of the spectrum, this is called a clown umbrella. It's a funny little thing, but it's great to make a point. Let me give you an example of a point you can make with this. You could say, if we sign the contract as it's written, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be like being in a thunderstorm with a clown umbrella. It's not going to work for us, folks. So there's a way to make a very serious point with a goofy prop. This is a clown umbrella. A way to use props to get out of using notes, I use hats a lot for this. Either I put them on, or if it's a really fun crowd, I let the people in the crowd put them on, and they just have a blast with it. See, I'm from the state of Maryland, and everybody goes nuts over crabs in Maryland. So I got myself a crab hat at the airport, all right? And people love wearing these, or I can give them out as a souvenir, as remembering that I was there and put my company name on it. And it can be used also to make a point. Again, these aren't all just for fun. You reinforce points with your props. So this could be a talk about difficult people, about how crabby they are. And this would perfectly illustrate that. And you could have role plays on stage when the person wearing the hat is the crabby customer. So everybody can identify that person in the role. So there's a fun way to use that. You could have a police hat. That's what this is. And the cool thing about it is you could hide notes right in there. So you could, instead of having cue cards that are obvious to people, you have your notes hidden in the hat. Before you put it on, you see what you're going to talk about. Put it on or put it on somebody in the crowd. Just about any kind of goofy thing you can find. I ran across this at a flea market somewhere. Some little kid was playing with it. And it's a little puppet doll that punches you, and it's just so goofy looking. But it reminded me of people in the workplace are always jabbing at you, and how can you react to it? So this was a fun way to illustrate that, and you pass it around and let people play with it in the crowd. Here's another way to illustrate the same point. This is a boxing glove that you practice boxing with, but when it's time to go out in the real world and fight it out, you take off the practice gloves. That could be an example of a point made with that. Here's some rubber chain. You're chained to your desk all the time. What are you going to do about it? Here's a fun thing that goes way back. The 8-ball that you ask questions to. You could have the audience members asking you questions, and you can say certainly or of course not or whatever the answer would be, and they can have a lot of fun with that. If you're good, props are good if you have a particular skill. Now, I can't juggle, but I've seen people use juggling as a metaphor on stage of juggling priorities. So it's a way to show off skills that you have that make you unique in the marketplace. There's always a lot of sports orientation in most audiences. This is a football. Now, this is a hard football. You wouldn't want to use this, and I learned this from experience about throwing things into the crowd. People can get hurt. So you use a Nerf football or something like that, and you can have people passing it around. Now, here's a really cool tip I learned about surprise props. Now, this one isn't much of a surprise. When you hear that can, you know something's going to shoot out. But when I had a really high-end theater coach watching me on stage one time when I let loose a surprise prop, and he said that I introduced the prop and shot it off before people had a chance to concentrate on the prop. So the technique is if you're going to shoot off a surprise prop, and I don't want to knock over our $1 million camera here, but you hold it for just an extra beat or two till people can focus on it, and then bam, let the surprise come out. And surprise props should probably be hidden behind a lectern or somewhere in your materials so that people aren't seeing it ahead of time to see the surprise. So a lot of ways you can use props. Another type of prop is a noisemaker. There's all kinds of noisemakers. You can, I don't know what this is, like a duck horn or something. You can have whistles. You can have those whistles that go woo and pass them out to everybody, and just having pandemonium go over props. Some people use kazoos for that too and play a song. So props can be a lot of fun, and I encourage you to work them into your presentation because they are an attention-gaining device. When people are falling off a little bit from your content, you want to hit them into attention, and this is one way to do it with props. There you go, and we'll see you on the next video. Am I on? Can you hear me back there? Check. Check 1, 2. The audience goes crazy when I pull this gag on them. This is a confetti cannon. The audience thinks that I'm up here dying miserably in the first few seconds, and then when I let this go, you will not believe the reaction. They have such a good time. This is a confetti cannon. It's disguised as a microphone in this case, but I also have one that I pull on the meeting planner. I usually tell them in advance that I'm going to do it, where I bring them up on stage to give them a bouquet of flowers. But the same trigger mechanism shoots confetti out of the bouquet of flowers as a gag. So this is a lot of fun. This trigger mechanism is powered by CO2, which is the same thing you'd find at a place where they sold BB guns, CO2 canister. You'd have to be careful about carrying these on an airplane. You'd probably want to get one at a local Walmart once you got to the city where you're speaking. But confetti cannons are a lot of fun. And I have a big one around here. If you could pass me that one that's against the wall there. Yeah, there we go. Here we go, Vanna, thank you. This one will fill up an auditorium. So I've shot this in a 600-seat auditorium and filled the whole ceiling, because this whole canister is filled with a confetti we call flutterfetti. This is not the kind of confetti that digs down as real tiny granules that digs down in the carpet and costs you a fortune to clean up. These are big pieces of paper that have a hang time where they float in the air, and it's a beautiful effect, and it comes up easily. You can even broom it up, or you can use a vacuum cleaner. So this is a confetti cannon, and it's a lot of fun. I use it for an effect called a standing ovation, where I get some of the top producers up on stage and then have the whole crowd give them a standing ovation. Then I tell them, whenever you see me do something, because they don't know what this is yet, with this magic wand, double the standing ovation. Then when I let this thing rip, the crowd goes nuts, and it makes a massive, massive event and very memorable. So confetti cannons in all their different formats, microphones, just regular cannons, and flowers can really make your presentation memorable and make a lot of fun for the people you speak to.